over the weekend, again, 5 Americans were kidnapped on Friday as they entered Mexico through Tamaulipas. Let me first lay out the whole story, and then we'll go into the sketchy details of this story. And I want to hear what you guys think. Let's try to make this news where we can interact and I can hear your input on these stories. I would love to add what you're saying into these stories, because sometimes probably you will have a wider version or a wider view of what's happening. So these 5 Americans, they are from Florida, originally from Dominican Republic, but they were naturalized U.S. citizens. Florida residents, 5 guys, black guys, and then they enter by land. I think the details are still not like super clear. They probably flew from Florida to Brownsville or something, and then they started driving from there south into Mexico. They were heading to Veracruz, which again, if you have an idea of this region of Mexico, which is Tamaulipas and then Veracruz, it's basically the coast of Mexico's Gulf, right? This is a hot spot. Again, because first of all, the high and wide presence of criminal organizations, one of the most ruthless. This is the region where Los Zetas were born, right? So we're talking paramilitary style criminal insurgencies working right there. Cartel del Golfo, Cartel del Noroeste, perdón. So yeah, we have like some really gruesome stuff there, and then also Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación trying to sneak into that territory, heavy fighting. But we also have a lot of other social issues, right? Like a lot of mining, a lot of gas shale, a lot of oil. So a lot of like sketchy interests. When you mix people that are interested in oil, in natural resources, in security, drugs, immigrants, then you have a very dangerous place or region. Again, for some reason, these guys decided to drive from Tamaulipas into another heavily narco-controlled state, which is Veracruz. Veracruz has a long history of having presence of what is left from Los Zetas, from Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, most recently, Cartel de Sinaloa. There's a lot of different cartels fighting over Veracruz. Before they managed to get or cross the border from the state of Tamaulipas into Veracruz, they were stopped at a checkpoint by, allegedly, the Cartel del Golfo in a place called Soto la Marina. Again, we've reviewed news from Soto la Marina before when we saw this massive convoy, allegedly by the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, arriving into Tamaulipas state. They get kidnapped, they get put in different cars, and they start driving back. But they get one of the pickup trucks that was driving that convoy with the kidnapped Americans engaged in heavy fight. So authorities managed to make some damage and rescue these 5 Americans and have them back on U.S. soil, safe and sound. Now let me tell you about these sketchy details that I think are important for this story, and I don't know what to make out of this, but I'll hear your thoughts. These 5 Dominican Republic naturalized Americans drove off into Mexico by one of the most dangerous states, driving a Jeep Wrangler, pretty new, pretty fancy, a Jeep Cherokee, pretty fancy as well, very new model, and a Lamborghini Urus that I'm going to be showing you on screen. I'm going to be showing you these photos of the Lambo and of the operation to rescue these guys. Again, probably not the best of the ideas, right? To drive into Mexico on one of the most fought over regions, driving a blue state-of-the-art Lamborghini Urus. They get stopped by this checkpoint, of course, because there is no official checkpoints on these highways, only illegal checkpoints that are basically running some of the states in Mexico, and that's the truth of it. There's a lot of people that still argues that Mexico is not a narco state, and then it's still run by the Mexican authorities? Well, I think it's partly run by Mexican authorities, but some states like Tamaulipas are absolutely run by these narcos. These are the guys setting up checkpoints. These are the guys setting up business. These are the guys allowing people to make business in different places, right? We're watching that Lamborghini now on screen. And I mean, imagine watching a convoy over Tamaulipas driving into Veracruz on these beautiful blue Lamborghini, followed by a Jeep Cherokee white, very suspicious, and another white Jeep Wrangler, right? What? First of all, the first question is, what business did this? Again, I don't want to re-victimize these guys. Again, they were victim of an awful crime, which is getting kidnapped in Mexico. This is fucking awful. But again, it's a bit suspicious, right? What are you doing flying from Florida into Mexico, into one of the most dangerous regions, and then driving off and trying to get into Veracruz? I mean, of course, it could have probably just been some vacations by these guys, right? Like, hey guys, let's go to Veracruz and let's have a drive on our Lamborghini Urus. That could be it. But I mean, that's a place where I'm sure that even me being a Mexican, I wouldn't do that kind of stuff, right? They get kidnapped, they get taken, the Urus gets taken, and then they get rescued. Authorities eventually found that one of the kidnapped men was in the back of the Urus, and the other one were moving in a white pickup truck. After the gunfight, these guys managed to run. The next day, in the morning of the next day, on Saturday, they found the kidnapped man on the side of a highway. That's where they found them. So it wasn't really a rescue. They literally found them because the cartel dropped them, probably because they wanted to avoid the heat. Now, what did the cartel wanted with these guys? Well, first of all, I think they wanted to interrogate them, right? What the fuck are you doing? And if they're doing something sketchy, I mean, they probably were not about to see the day for another day, right? Like the life for another day. Again, the Urus wasn't to be found. The Urus managed to be driven all the way back from Soto La Marina to Reynosa without getting stopped by any Mexican authorities. Again, why? Because this is a state widely run by the criminals, widely run by the Cartel del Golfo. Then they arrested this guy driving the Urus only because the owner, who was rescued or left in the side of a highway, he managed to track using a service provided by Lamborghini on every Lambo owner, which is basically a tracking service on your phone, right? You can see live where your car is. So he shared that with the authorities. Probably the authorities called the Cartel del Golfo and said, like, man, you need to give that shit back. That guy arrested was allegedly working for man, El Quena 19, right? This guy who was also responsible for kidnapping the other 5 or 6 Americans back in March, where they killed 2 of them, and the rest survived. And allegedly, the leader of the Escorpiones faction of the Cartel del Golfo. He really wants the heat, right? What sources said, like I'm talking about official sources on the Mexican side of the border in that region, what they told me is that La Quena wanted that Urus. So he ordered his man to go and pick that Urus and bring it back to him. But turns out these guys were Americans. So they didn't want the hit. They let them go. Still, he still wanted the Urus. So he sent his man, Sergio, known as El Ciego Guevara Vasquez, one of the right hands of La Quena, and yeah, he had to turn the Urus back to the original owner, or at least to the Mexican authorities. So La Quena was left out without his beautiful blue Urus. What do you guys think about this story, guys? Like, it's sketchy that they were driving this sort of like high-end convoy. I mean, I don't think that's normal, right? Duncan Patterson needs to be crazy going down that route. Exactly. Island born and play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Sadly, man. Sadly, I mean, honestly, everybody has the right of free transit, right? If you're doing something legal, whatever. But sadly, you need to be smarter than that, right? Here we rob. These guys are players with no brains. Very probably, man. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, or they thought that they were actually, protected somehow. René Lomelí, saludos de Atlanta. Keep the info. Man, thanks very much. Duncan Patterson, definitely no brains. Lambo to Veracruz. Big Blue robbed me. Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, they literally had a target themselves. I wondered if that was their goal, right? I don't know. Very sketchy to drive that in the location Blue Vandal. Yes, man. Like that was probably not the smartest way to go when you're trying to, go into Mexico. I mean, again, I'm not saying you guys shouldn't go to Mexico. Beautiful country. Veracruz is amazing. It's a great state. Although Tamaulipas, Veracruz, and several other states down the Gulf of Mexico are very dangerous places. You rather fly in to your destination and then have fun and not look fucking sketchy at all. Let's say you want to go down there for a I don't know, your friend's getting married and you're gonna go party in Veracruz for some reason, right? You can definitely do that. Just be aware that, first of all, don't drive a fucking Lambo through Tamaulipas. Second of all, well, just don't be a target for these guys. They're gonna wanna stop you and say, like, because I mean, we've covered these before on different episodes, right? Even if you fly in, they have people, they have checkpoints right after you leave the airport or right after you arrive back to the airport, right? They're gonna question you. They're gonna ask you, what's your business here? What do you want? We've seen that. I mean, and if you have no business, then you're good to go. But if they think you have some business, then you're out, my man. Edward Salazar, saludos from Brownsville, Texas. Not going to Matamoros anytime soon. Yeah, man. I wouldn't recommend it. Like if you don't have anything to do there. Vilam, I am from a country where there are 55 murders per year. When I watch yours with my friend reports, we just sit and shake our heads with open mouths. Sadly, man. Sadly, I mean, Mexico's a beautiful country, but again, it's a fucking narco state. This shit is run by the narcos. Vilam, do you think that when we go on vacation to Mexico, you will be able to guide us there with an escort? Of course, we will pay. I'm probably not in the business, but we'll love to share my thoughts on it, man. Cristian Gonzalez, I have a GMC Sierra 2018. I'm scared to take that truck through Tamaulipas, even though it's only through Nuevo Laredo, then Monterrey. Not worth the hassle to drive an NASCAR in Mexico. Absolutely, man. Like, I mean, you definitely can, but again, you could get or feel the heat, and in different places, you need to have like different ways of doing things, right? If you're in Tamaulipas and someone's trying to stop you and you can't escape on your car, you feel confident that you can get safe back to the border, whatever. I think that's definitely a possibility. When you're in Sinaloa, there is no fucking way you're going to get away from these guys, because checkpoints work very differently on different drug cartels, right? On different areas or regions in Mexico.